Hey everyone, Sarah Barnes Humphrey here from Let's Talk Supply Chain at Momentum with Bryant and Blake. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Sarah. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, we're going to do some deep dives into a couple of hot topics in supply chain. But before we do that, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do, Bryant?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Bryant Smith, Director of Product Management. I'm responsible for the TMS product strategy and the roadmap.
Awesome. What about you, Blake?
Hey, Blake Worm, also product manager here at Manhattan. Responsibility over Manhattan Active Warehouse Management, yard management, and a few other things. But yeah, I've been here 14 years, 10 years on the services side, road warrior, design lead, etc. And last 4 years on the product side. Been enjoying it ever since.
Well, now that everything's opened up, I think there's a lot of road warriors in supply chain these days. We're all traveling, going to conferences, and it's been great to see everybody in person. Now we're going to do some updates, some deep dives into TMS and yard management, and these are really hot topics for supply chain professionals right now. And I'm looking forward to finding out a little bit more about how customers are thinking about these products, what cool new features and updates that you have. So Blake, we're gonna start with you. Manhattan introduced yard management just last year. So what business challenges is this solving for supply chain teams?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I would layer that probably, honestly, because yard management solves a number of problems historically about just general track and traceability within the yard, arrival and departure, what's on my yard, etc. And that's going to be call it table stakes from a yard management solution. What's uniquely different from our solution is the unification that it has with transportation and warehouse management, where we can leverage those insights that exist in, again, the transportation solution or within the four walls of the building and utilize those into a more optimized decision making in the yard. And so that's where we can start to be a real differentiator.
Well, the data sharing, right? Like we've been using the word unification a lot, and it really just brings everybody together. It brings all the platforms together, like you said, the data sharing, which I think is really key for supply chain teams when we're thinking about all the moving parts that happen. So, how does the coming together of Manhattan's transportation and yard management solutions really help the businesses, apart from, I just said data sharing, but I'm sure there's more.
Yeah. Well, what's great is obviously it's a single application. So at the very beginning of it, it's just no walls between what a yard solution provider, like what a yard user can see and what a transportation user can see. So when you're a transportation user, you're looking into the yard, understanding exactly where your trailers are, what's going on with them, their progress to the facility and leaving. And then vice versa, right? As a yard user, you can see all of the entail of transportation coming into your yard and really understand what's going to come, what's that throughput. And I'll give you a particular use case
Please.
Of just kind of a very, so transportation has a number of avenues by which they will get ETA information, right? Like over the road, live details, GPS provided. That could be from one of our partners or from MATM directly. But leveraging that information, yard can say, oh, hey, this trailer is going to be here in 15 minutes. I need to make sure I have a door ready and right to go. So I'm going to hold on to this door that just became available because I know it's going to arrive very momentarily, right?
Yeah.
So leveraging that information into, again, making those decisions from a yard perspective in a more intelligent way.
Well, and also making sure you have the staff there to be able to unload when it does come to the door so that we can cycle through that pretty quickly. I think also it helps with route planning and management. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of this structure, as Blake says, is a single platform. Mm-hmm. So when we have a shipment in the application, it's the exact same shipment that our yard users are looking at.
Right.
It's the exact same shipment that our transportation planners are looking at.
Okay.
So as we're getting these ETAs, it's helping our yard users to understand when is it going to be there. But once they've actually checked in at the gate and checked out of the gate, our transportation users know that they've arrived and so on and so forth. So it certainly helps with the planning perspective. Now, in terms of calculating dates, as soon as that shipment leaves the yard and it's heading to its next stop, we can dynamically calculate that ETA right at that time of the timestamp of when they leave. So we have a more accurate picture of when they're going to their next stop and when they'll be there.
Right. Well, and my background is in logistics, and I spent a lot of time in ocean freight. So when you say ETA,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time on ETAs, but back then we didn't have technology like this.
Mhm.
So it was always, this is estimated. It
Yes.
can go a couple of days later, a couple of days earlier.
Yeah.
So I wish I had that, because we had a lot of customers that really wanted that from us, but the technology wasn't there.
It helps certainly automate the process so that you're not picking up the phone and calling and saying, where are you? When are you going to be here?
I did that many times throughout my career.
It certainly eliminates the manual process, but I think it further gives you granularity and accuracy into the data because it's pinpoint when those timestamps actually occur. The other benefit is, of course, those legacy systems where you have a siloed TMS and a completely separate YMS, you have a shipment in one and you're duplicating that shipment in another.
So, and duplicating the data, right? And
Exactly.
the data entry.
And it has,
Ooh.
and you have to sync that data either manually or through integration, which comes with overhead and costs, and there's delays in exchanging that information. So you're not really working with the latest and greatest. So
Right.
Certainly the benefit of having a single application working with the same data structure gives you more efficiency.
Well, and one single mistake, right? We're all human.
Yeah.
And if you're having to do that manually, one single mistake can send everybody in a tailspin.
Yeah, and what's great about the unified platform is, working with the same data structure is, the delays that occur within Yard are made visible to the transportation users. And the delays that are happening within transportation are made visible to the Yard users.
Yeah.
So everyone's working on the same sheet of music. They don't have to
Sheet music, I love that.
they don't have to call the people down at the Yard and say what's going on because they already know.
Well, and it's forced collaboration,
Yeah.
forced internal collaboration. I was talking about this the other day, where if it's too manual, people aren't going to collaborate internally because it's just too hard.
Right.
But if you can make it easy for them, then you can force that collaboration and everybody can work together. So, Blake, Bryant has been talking about how, this unified solution and some of the benefits, but specifically for yard management, transportation on this unified platform, I think it contributes to cost savings too. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the major benefits that we see from this unification is the ability to really turn drivers in a faster fashion, right? So in any of those relationships, you want to be the vendor of preference, right? And so allow for your carriers to respect and understand that they're going to ride every yard and they're going to leave on time, right? So getting in, getting out as fast as possible. And so the unification of those two things allows you to really, and again, as Brian mentioned, understand again the long tail of transportation coming in, and really from a yard perspective, really have a granular view of how they're coming in and leaving out, and all the inter moves in between, right? We arrived at this time, we are at the door for so long, we had to sit on the yard for a period of time, whatever that looks like, all that information is exposed to the user.
Yeah, and that enhances visibility and transparency, not only internally, but like you said, it helps you work with your transportation partners, which is a really big deal because you're trying to establish trust, and that's what makes the supply chains go around, right?
As part of that cost mitigation and visibility, right? We understand when a driver's arrived and when they depart. So we have better accuracy if there's potential detention, right? Because
those detention and demurrage
I
charges,
know.
they can stack up.
so we have when they arrive, when they depart, so we have really accurate information about detention charges. So if there was any type of discrepancy, you have data to fall back on. But you also have alerting systems to say, they've been here for a while. You might want to talk to your labor force about getting this truck unloaded so we can, not pay the detention costs as well.
Yeah, I feel like that hockey siren, the red one.
Yeah.
Like, alert, alert,
Yeah.
alert. You need to move this trailer quickly.
Right.
So Bryant, talk to us about the technological advancements that businesses should be aware of when it comes to transportation management.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was something I shared in my session yesterday with a number of stakeholders is, what we've been hearing from the community is it's all about visibility and control, right? It's one thing to be able to see the data, but to be able to action against that data in a seamless fashion is what propels you to be more efficient in how you're doing that. So what we're doing from a product perspective is not only architecting the back end and the data structures to allow for that, but we're also updating the user interface and the user experience so that that information is surfaced in a seamless way, but also they can quickly action against that data right then and there.
And so is that through an app?
Yeah, so the platform in of itself, we have one design team, which is what makes the active platform beautiful. Is it doesn't matter if you're using warehouse workflows, it doesn't matter if you're using yard workflows or transportation workflows, it all looks and feels the same because we have one central design team that helps us with these user experiences. And we actually sit down with end users to understand, what is your business problem? What are the requirements as part of this design? But we actually have people come in and test our prototypes.
Okay.
So that before we even write a line of code, we already have feedback into what's the best way to build this particular solution. So that by the time it hits a stage or production environment, we already have validation that they're going to get benefit out of
And
it.
you know they're going to be excited about it.
Yes, absolutely. We don't want to build things people aren't going to use.
So what about machine learning and also sustainability?
Yeah, so AI and machine learning have been around for a long time. And, a lot of what we're doing in the transportation space is we've been leaning on heavy data to do the types of things we need to do from an optimization perspective. And we've been doing that for a long time. But the recent buzz around Gen AI is now we start to expand out of the numbers and the calculations, and now we can start using words and phrases and sentences in ways that people can relate, right? So if we need to summarize what happened to a particular shipment, you can have that interaction with the tool, and it'll summarize what actually happened in a way that the user can understand it.
Right.
So, we're doing a number of
that too.
different things in that regard. We're early on in the journey in that way, and we're partnering with some of our customers and our product council to understand where we can apply those particular tools. But in the same way, we're also working with our end users and stakeholders on what are their sustainability goals, right? Because transportation, as Blake mentioned, table stakes is, you expect your TMS to help you drive less miles, have fuller truckloads, and that's really the name of the game for TMS. But how can we go a step further into how are we calculating the actual carbon footprint that we have within our ecosystem, but also providing that information at the point of attack so that the end user can make more sustainable routing decisions when they're planning their freight. And then, of course, on the back end, we need to have a robust reporting structure so that you can report back not only within your own organization about how you're performing, but we've seen even more regulations and regulatory bodies that you actually have to provide this information of how you're actually performing. So we're helping in that front as well.
So let's get back to yard management. Because everybody's talking about digital transformation. What exactly does that look like in yard management?
No, great question. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, we have, frankly, a number of opportunities in the market from a yard perspective. And frankly, what that looks like, in not too far past is spreadsheets, right? Google Docs, things of this nature, where people are leveraging this type of technology, which is a form of technology, I suppose, to say, yeah, here's what's on my yard, here's what's going on. And the information they have for that is as good as they can type it in, right? And so obviously moving to a more digitalized and understanding of exactly what's going on and integrating that, obviously from a transportation perspective, gets you a wealth of knowledge that you'll never have in a Google document, right? The live updates, the real-time understanding about shipments. Again, it's a single shipment object. We both understand exactly what's coming in, what is on that shipment, who's shipping it, et cetera, et cetera. So just the wealth of knowledge that can come from a digitalization is far beyond the expectations of any kind of just manual track and trace through any kind of Excel spreadsheet or Google Doc.
When you were talking about that, I thought about an example that I just recently had with a rental car place. Just to put it into perspective, they kept sending people to a bay that didn't have a car. And so people had to keep coming back to say there's no car in this bay. and they were using a computer system, but the computer system wasn't working that day. So I kind of relate yard management to sort of rental cars and what my experience was the other day.
Well, that's where it warrants having, again, an option to updates, right?
Yeah.
Like the trailer's not there. Great. Let me update where the trailer is.
Yeah.
Or at least identify the fact that it's lost,
And not
right?
doing it
And
manually.
not doing it manually through some sort of Excel spreadsheet. Yeah.
Yeah, that's too funny. So do either of you have anything else to share before we go?
Yeah, I want to go back to the point that I made about visibility and control, and that's really the benefit of having TMS and Yard together on a single platform is you get more visibility, not only what's going on in the yard, but also what's going on in transportation.
Mhm.
But having that visibility gives you more control.
Right.
You have more control on how you route your trucks, your trailers, and so on and so forth. You have more control in how you assign and move those particular assets within the yard.
Awesome. What about you?
Another dad, Brian said it everything.
The words right out of your mouth.
Yeah. No, it's just again, it's fantastic from a yard perspective just to get that information and insights and leveraging what transportation has a rich database about understanding again what's on the trailer, when it's coming, when it left, etc. As well as over the road insights on any kind of delays that might occur and leveraging all those insights that are rich and available to us.
Yeah.
Into understanding how we can actually effectively execute our yard in a more manageable way. So just all of that is just fantastic.
Optimizing, control, time savings, so much to look forward with that unification between yard management and TMS. Bryant and Blake, thank you so much for joining me. This is Sarah Barnes Humphrey from Let's Talk Supply Chain.